Good morning, everybody. It's been like probably 4 or 5 months since I've gone live here, um, but I've been very busy. Um, but I'm going to try to keep these up. I know some people are on my YouTube channel asking me, where are you, Steve? Um, so to be honest with you, I'm writing, I'm researching. Yesterday I was debriefing for almost 7 hours. I am very, very busy, so it's hard for me to find time to do this. But I promise you, I'm trying to make time to do it, and that's my goal. So anyway, I thought what we would do is do a profile, look at a profile. I had a profile come in recently that I thought would be interesting to put up here. So let me do that. I'm going to put it up on the screen. So what we're going to look at, number one, is the behavioral piece. The behavioral piece deals with the 4 primary emotions. We just keep saying that, so I'm going to continue to say that. The 4 primary emotions, anger, optimism, patience, and fear, and how they work between self-existence and shared existence. And we'll look at that in a minute. And then the next thing we're going to look at is this same individual's IMO report, which is Integrated Motivational Orientations. And therefore, what that looks like. And then we're going to integrate that with the behavior piece, both character-based and orientations. And then we're going to look at the HVP model, which is what we call our IVO report. V as in victory. And that'll be something new for you to see our format that we've got going right now. And our IVO report is being programmed as I speak. It's a big job, but when it's done, it'll be great because it'll automate the report. Right now, we have to run them through our in-house algorithm and create it that way, which takes a little bit of work, but it's worth it. All right, so let's do this. This is the behavior piece. And so you can see here that we have a style that is actually not super popular. When things aren't popular, we call them outliers. And so an outlier is a graph that lies outside of the typical norms. And this is one of those. This is known as an emulator profile. Sometimes, depending upon the intensity of these emotions, it can be called a strategic planner or a hidden persuader. So it depends. But right now, you can see optimism is in play. And at the same time, fear is in play. And patience barely in play, like annoyingly in play. When I say in play, I'm talking about its positive consistency. Positive consistency is really about my ability or your ability to lean into any particular emotion out of 4. So when we measure these on a graph, if the emotions go beyond 50 on the scale, so above 50 on the scale, then what that means is it's in play, or I'm relying on that emotion in my decision making. If, for instance, the anger emotion is like a 23 here, in that case, I'm not relying on that emotion for decision making. I'm relying on the opposite of that emotion for decision making. So if your anger is in play, then it's an aggressive emotion. So I'm leaning into aggressive patterns for decision making. And if I'm not, leaning into aggressive patterns. I'm more amiable. So I'm leaning away from aggression and leaning into attraction in the optimism. Anyway, I don't want to confuse you. So this particular person, it's got some interesting things going on here. So let's look at the natural orientation, their energy system. So what energies are in play? Optimism is an energy that's in play. Patience is an energy. It's in play. It's barely in play, but it is still in play. And fear is in play. Okay, that's blue. So the fear is in play. So what does this mean? So when you have higher optimistic consistencies or greater consistency in optimism, then you have a heightened awareness about what other people are thinking about what you're doing and saying. So you become very, not only somewhat self-aware, but you're aware of what other people are thinking about you. This can come off behaviorally like, I really care about you, I'm really interested in what you've got to say, and things like this. But really, boots on the ground in the brain, I'm setting you up to inquire about me. Because when you cross 70 on optimism, then you enter the I triangle. And we've talked about this. So there are 3 fears associated with this triangle. So I like to think of it like the Bermuda Triangle. Once you get in there, it's hard to get out. So there's 3 fears. Number 1 fear is not being liked. The number 2 fear is failure. And the number 3 fear is being mischaracterized. So during conversations and interactions with people, unconsciously, back, deep in your brain, there's this fear of people not liking you. So you're going to basically arrange the conversation in a way that initiates feelings in the other person to like me. So I'm going to solicit these emotions from you limbically. It's called limbic looping. That just means I may be bullshitting you. Or I may be buttering you up. I may be complimenting you. I may be pointing out things about you that I think are interesting, maybe amazing, or something like that, so that you will feel good to be with me. And your brain's thinking, wow, when I'm with this person, I feel good about who I am. And the reason that's happening is because that person is likely pointing out things about you that are positive, and that creates an attraction. So the attractor, that's A in TARP. So if you go over there, you see that that's above 80 or at 80 there. And, fear drops down, patience goes up a bit, anger goes up a bit. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but influencing is still the all winner here. Inconsistency. And so what's happening there is seeing other people as commodities with a market value, seeing myself, if this is me, seeing myself as a commodity with a market value. So this person is basically consistently marketing themselves to the world around them. Hello, I'm here, like me. Hello, I'm here. Notice me. Things like that. So attractors attract. A is for attracting. Attracting is when we put the spotlight on ourselves and draw attention to ourselves in an effort to be noticed and ultimately appreciated and liked. Okay? That's always the goal. Even though you may feel good when you're with this person, their goal isn't to make you feel good. Making you feel good is part of a process of feeling good themselves. So you are a means to the influencers feeling good about who they are in the world. Is this good or bad? It is not about good or bad. I keep saying that. Not that you asked me that, but I'm saying it just in case you're thinking it. There is no good or bad to any of this. This is what this person is doing. Now, I want to bring in the cricket here. If you've heard these enough, my videos, you know what I'm about to say. But the patience piece, submission, S, and responsiveness in the TARP, you can see it's just above the line here. What does that mean? It means it's annoying. That patience becomes the annoying cricket that perches on the shoulder, whispers in your ear all the time, saying things like, are you sure you want to go in there? Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure they're going to appreciate what you're about to do? Blah, 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 blah. It's constantly causing this person to second guess their decisions. Why? Number one, anger is out of play. It's inconsistent. Okay, so what does that mean? It means they are indecisive. Okay, decisiveness is a part of the anger emotion. It's a large part of the anger emotion. And if you want to know more about that, get my book, The Angry Brain. And it'll talk about that. But indecision comes from patience being in play and anger being out of play. That combination, anger out of play, patience in play, consistent patience, inconsistent anger creates indecision. You throw fear in there and it gets worse, okay? Because fear orientations, that's P in TARP, so preservation. When the brain enters a mode of preserving, what happens is the world appears colder, crueler, and darker. And there's a feeling of doubt. So people that have greater fear orientations doubt things will happen that they're trying to do. People that have consistent patience orientations, which is responsiveness, they hope things happen. So if you look at this, there's an imagining of things happening. That's optimism. All right, I imagine more than is true. I hope in the patience, and I doubt in the fear. So if you look at the disc, the natural 2 graph on the right, you have strength in imagination and doubting in the character base. What is that? They're opposites. Dreaming about what things could be and then canceling them out with your fear. Well, I imagine this will happen, but when I think about it longer, I doubt it will. So you begin in your imagination because there's greater consistency, but you will end up in doubt and then finally in hope. So hope and doubt, 2 against 1 imagination. Guess what? Hope and doubt will likely win. Now, when they get out into the world, working, looking for work, being with friends, family, associates, what have you, there's more imagination than hoping and doubting. So there's imagining more. So this is a real striving to believe the best. So this is like a true believer. Okay? True believing profiles have a combination of optimism, patience, and fear all in play together. A little higher than what you see here, but I'm going to use it because it's high enough in my opinion. So they go from strategic planning to true believing, and the true believing profile only wants good news. It doesn't like bad news. So if all I want is good news, then what happens is I ignore what's bad and hope for, and I hope for what's good. There's a little bit of doubt there, but there's an imagining of the good that overpowers. Now, the energy to imagine more than is likely true, you can see, is coming from anger, which boosts from about a 23 to a 30. So that's 7 points. You might think, well, that ain't a lot. It's not. But it's enough to show that there's energy going into imagining better things. This is true belief. So I want to leave that at that for right now. And what I want to do now is put up the IMO report. Same person. All right. Here is telling. This is very, very telling. It may not be telling to you, but it's super telling to me. All right. We got some stuff here. We've got high individualism, 76 out of 100, right? So that's coming in number 2 in the ranking. And what's coming in number 1 is regulation. So regulation or compliance is low. Okay, so look at that defiant. There's a defiance taking place here. There's being in the world and resisting the norms of what anybody would think ought to be. Okay, so this is in line with structured thinking. What is structured thinking? Sorry, I'm burping here. This looks kind of crooked. What is structured thinking? Structured thinking is really, about your brain looking at what should be in no uncertain terms. A good example might be, if the fan is spinning, never pull the red lever that's next to it. Okay, that would be structured thinking. In other words, here's how you ought to approach this red lever. Don't pull it if the fan's running. Maybe that's instructions one might receive on in a factory, let's say. Okay, here's what we don't do, and here's what we can do. So in no uncertain terms, right? I'm telling you the way it ought to be. And there are a lot of way things ought to be. The speed limit, if it says 70, it doesn't mean 75. It doesn't mean 85. It means 70. So you ought to go the speed limit because there's a limit. It's black and white. 71 is over the line. Okay, now obviously you're probably going to get away with up to 75. Even if you go by the police, they're not going to stop you because even they have their limits of when they're going to bother going after somebody and doing all the paperwork about it. So maybe 78 is a cutoff point in their mind. So their idea of what ought to be when it comes to a 70 mile an hour speed limit is not the same idea as the people who created the sign 70 and came up with that number, and is not the same as the person driving in the car. So everybody's concept of what ought to be when it comes to speed limit 70 is going to be different. But knowing what law enforcement thinks is a line is good because if you don't cross it, you won't get a ticket, likely. But if you do cross it, you will get a ticket. So it's advantageous to know what that is. Okay? So when I look at this score, look at regulation. Its score is 21. Its ranking is 1. What does that mean? It's going to have the greatest effect out of all of these rankings. Low regulation is going to have the greatest effect on the environment this person is in. What does this person want? They want the freedom and autonomy to do things by their own book. Okay, now you might be thinking, wait a minute, does that contradict behavior? Well, let's look at this. Okay, look at C in DISC. So conscientiousness, it's a fear of, dang it. Hold on a minute. This is Stephen. Hey, how are you? What can I do you for? I got a minute. I actually only have a few minutes, so um, I'll talk with you for sure. With who? Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. So can you just take some time? Do you have to go in? Can you take some time to cool off or? Okay. Yeah. Well, here's what I would do. I would recommend, not speaking with him, obviously, and then maybe preparing for a conversation on Monday that, is this going to be an ultimatum on Monday for you? Well, you know the pattern. You know his pattern, right? His pattern has been the same for years. Um, and and you, yeah, it's not going to change. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, I think you're right that you have to decide if this is something you want to continue doing because until those attorneys are up to speed, he's going to rely on you because he always has, um, and that's the pattern he has. That's the pattern that's been created, and until it can be handed off to another individual that is now has the capacity to do things as quickly and as easily as you do because they know exactly what to do or how to do it. You're going to be that person. And that's likely not going to change. So you have to decide is that something you want to sign up for? You know what I mean? Because that's the way it's going to be. And if you don't like it, you're right. It's going to go against your brain grain and it's going to be really difficult and you're not going to be happy. You're going to be frustrated and you're going to keep going to work feeling used um, in a sense. You know what I mean? And so I think you listen, you got to, depending on where you are in your life right now, you can decide, are you able to make a change? I think it would be a breath of fresh air if you did, because nothing's going to change over there. This is the way that ball bounces, and we know that. Um, it's going to continue to bounce that way. It's not going to change. Um, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? It's just the way it is. So I think you have to decide if this is something you want to do at this point in your life. Sounds like it's not what you want to do at this point in your life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, then that's the whole point I'm making. That's not going to change likely now that there's more lawyers in play, um, because they'll do it and get the compensation simply because they've passed the bar. So you have to decide either. Mhm. Well, you know what he does? He takes the road of least resistance. It's just easier to have you do it at this point, right? It's easier because you know what to do. Well, remember, dominant people, they look at the picture in front of them. What's the quickest way to get A? That's it. That's all they think like. It's not a scheme. It's just, how do I get this document now? How's that going to work? And then you're going to be able to do it. That's how he gets it. What you're doing is you're looking at it all differently. You're looking at it from your perspective, seeing everything. You're seeing the other players, you're seeing what they're doing or not doing. You have your brain biases about it. You have your emotions in play. You're looking at how long you've been there and how that's played out over the years. You're thinking about how you feel. You're thinking of your future. You got all these things going on, and all he's doing is, how do I get this paper to my, how do I get this now? That's all he's thinking. And if you don't want to be the nail that hammer hits all the time, you're going to have to do something else, because that's the way it's going to be until they are in a position to do it. As long as you're better at them at anything, he's going to call on you to get it now, because he's extremely results oriented. You know, now you can take that as a compliment or not, right? um, it's just the way it is. And if you think you deserve more for being that person, then go get it. He'll probably give it to you. But you have to decide this. This isn't something he's going to be able to decide, because he is who he is, and this is how he does it. If you're going to get into this car, this is how it drives, right? So you could take this route, take that as a compliment. He puts a lot of faith and trust in me. Wow, okay. So I'm going to produce for him. And if I think I deserve more for doing that, then you should make the case, and he'll likely give it to you. If you don't make the case and become bitter, he'll just go on and figure out a way. If you leave, he'll just figure out a way to fix it. Like, it will be no skin off of his nose. And so you're not going to be able to put that guy in a lurch. He'll just figure it out. It's what he does. So how do you capitalize on this? How do you get the most out of this? I would suggest you deliver quickly on it, and then you go to him and say, you want more of this? Because you know how much I've got. I've got a lot of it. And what I'd like to do is renegotiate my pay going forward. And here's why. And here's how I see it. And when you do that, don't piss on the other people in the process. Didn't get it? Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 So you need to renegotiate that process. So what you should do, uh, uh, is go in there and say, listen, this isn't working for me, and this is why. So I want a salary uptick, or I want to renegotiate this, and I need that renegotiated this week, or this isn't going to work out for me. In other words, you got to just go in and be either or, not both and. And you're thinking and you're speaking. And trust me, odds are good Ross is going to meet the demand. If he doesn't, it's because he believes at this point he doesn't need you. That's why he would not do it. Okay? It's a hard reality, but if that happens, that's going to be why. But if you do it right, you're likely to get it. But just be calm and not accusatory when you do it, because that pushes those people over the edge, those types. So that's my advice to you. Yeah. Well, again, yeah, you just have to play it in that way, and you'll be respected for it. What he hates is whining. Just don't do that. Just go in there and say, here's what I need. Here's the way it is. Blah, blah, blah. When can we get this done? In a nice, monotone, non-threatening manner. And you're likely going to get it. You make the case, he's logical, you'll likely get it. What are the odds? About 84%. Okay? Yeah, just chill. Don't speak when you're feeling this way, because it'll come out sideways, as you said. Just wait, let it pass, Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Just take control of the conversation. Go in there with a plan and with your logical reasoning as to why this needs to happen for you, and you will likely get it. That's what I'll do. That's what I would do in this case. But anyway, I have to run. But just chill out and then do that, and then keep me in the loop on what happens. You're very welcome. Talk to you. Bye. Okay, sorry, but I thought I would just let you hear that rather than signing off. That's a client that's on retainer, and that's a very key individual in the company that's about had it up to here with the owner and wants to walk. But I think I talked her into not doing that, but making a logical case for what she believes is her right, full, whatever. So she said she'll take the weekend, calm down, go in on Monday, make her case, and odds are good she's going to get more than she's getting right now. Anyway, that's what that was all about. Typically people make appointments. She didn't, and I know why, because it's her style. She's a dominant. Just like call Sisler. Get to it. Anyway, okay, back to this. I don't even know where we are. All right, let me get off of this and go back to this. So, I know what we did. So we got low regulation here, which is defiance, and we got high individualism, which is unrestriction. And so this also is, you see how it says secure at the bottom, the left of the orange individualism line there, it says secure. So the higher it goes, you can imagine it becomes more insecure, which is true. But with insecurity comes unrestrictive behaviors. And I don't want to go into why that is. It's a whole nother hour. But when you have low regulation in play with high individualism, it seeks a super need for freedom and autonomy and doing things by your own book or marching to the beat of your own drum. All right. So now that we know that, now this is a desire. This isn't behavior. This is what this brain needs in an effort to feel good while working in the world. They need to be able to do what they want, when they want, however they want, wearing whatever they want. That's what that brain's looking for. I want to be my own person. I don't want anybody telling me what I need to do. Okay? That being said, when we go back to this and we see the fear being high or more consistent, that's the better term, then there's a fear of errors and mistakes. So that's contradictory. Okay? That contradicts, this here. So that's called a me conflict. There's an inner me means myself and myself. So I'm having conflicting feelings, emotions, desires, needs. I need to be my own person, but I fear screwing it up. Okay? So there's that's a problem. Okay? That's a problem. So what that does is it creates a deer in the headlights. And that's going to happen. A couple other things. Power. The power element is inconsistent. It's a 26, right? 3 on the ranking, which means it's the third most powerful element and how it's going to affect them in an environment of any kind. So lower power means yielding my position to avoid controversies. Okay? So this is authority, power, and control, and there isn't any. So when we go back to this, we look at the anger, it's a 23 or a 22, okay, which is T in TARP. T stands for taking, all right? So what is taking? People that have high anger orientations see things and peoples as a means to an end or as tools, and they believe that anything of value lies outside of themselves, and if they want it, they must take it by force. That's where the taking comes in. So they can't take. They are stuck imagining what it would be like to have it, but they can't take it. All right? So get that in your mind. They can't take it. They only imagine what it's like to have it. And then when it comes to the power and authority and control, so this is all about being in charge of what I want. They can't do it because they're not consistent in their power element, which means there's no desire to shoulder any more responsibility than I have to. Oh, this is going to create a problem. I want to be the star of the show. I can't make anything happen. The annoying cricket keeps causing me to second guess whether or not it's possible or I can even pull it off. I'm trying to march to the beat of my own drum at such a pace that it's creating conflict because I have a fear of errors and mistakes. So there's now going on inside of my mind, if I'm this person, a battle. Should I or shouldn't I? 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 This is what's going on, all while being center stage. So I'm the lead. I got the lead in the play, and I don't know my lines. That's what's going to happen. That's all I'm going to say about that one for right now. We're going to go into Hartman territory. Okay. This is a real problem. Empathy's fine. I'm not going to talk about that right now. Execution. I am going to talk about that's a high level of execution with positive brain bias. What that means is an awareness of how people. No, let me rephrase that. An awareness. This person has a good awareness of what needs to be done and how their decision's going to affect the results thereafter. And then when they think about those results, they think about the benefits that getting those results will bring. So when they're imagining how they need to do something and what it's going to do if they're able to do it, they're in cue, they're connected, and they're in step with all that. But then when they try to do it, they can't do it. He's not going to be able to do it. So that's going to create a big frustration right there. The other thing is he's unconventional. That's the red box, the red lines there on the planning piece. So this is structured thinking. When it comes to structured thinking, we already talked about this here. So defiance, regulation is a form of structured thinking. And it's inconsistent, really inconsistent. It's the lowest one on a scale of 0 to 100. It's a 21. 26 is the next lowest item. This person is unregulated. I might go as far as to say unhinged. Because when it comes to thinking about how they believe something ought to be, they're a unicorn in that world. They're 16% of the population. He's looking through a prism, not plate glass. He's seeing rainbows. No one else is. So when it comes to how something ought to be, this guy has his own idea of what that's supposed to look like, and it's not the status quo. It's not what most of the people in the room are going to think. It's what he's going to think. On top of that, he's got negative attention. So look at the bottom of planning, at the bottom of the page, you could see it's a 31 or a 32. That means it's basically about 70% negative. So when he's thinking about his idea of what ought to be, he's looking at what ought to be. So let's say don't pull the red lever while the fan is running. He looks at it and he says, why not? Why can't we do that? And then he starts to think about what's wrong with that rule. Not what's right. What's wrong with it? So what he's doing is he's paying more attention to what's wrong with the rules and no attention to what's right about the rule. And his idea of the same rule is different than 84% of the population. Okay? So he will go into work, and whenever it comes to how things ought to be, he's going to be doing things so differently, that's what unconventionality is, that he won't fit in. His ideas won't make sense when it comes to the way things ought to be, because they're out of sync with the status quo. If there are 10 people in a room and 8 of them are skinning a cat like this, and you're skinning the cat completely differently and starting from the other side of the cat, you're starting from the tail when they're all starting from the head, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. And when they inquire as to why you're doing it that way, your answer won't make any sense. That's what's going to happen here. And he's going to push for it. And then when he's forced to conform, or if people don't treat him a certain way because he isn't seeing it the same way, he's going to get hurt because he doesn't get angry, because he doesn't have any consistency in his anger. So he goes to work and gets hurt. Things don't work out. He has a way of doing things. People look at it. They don't understand it. They probably don't like it. Simply because it's unconventional. So what could be an asset can turn into a liability in this case. Now, the bigger problem is the self-scoring. I want you to look at self-care. Okay, this is highly unconventional. This is very, very bad. Okay? So when this person thinks of themselves, they think of their value. What value do I have in this world? They don't see any. None. They just, in their mind, they're taking up space. And they have no personal value. And what personal value they might be forced to think about simply because somebody else brings it up, their thoughts are 90% negative about it. So all they can think about is what's wrong with it. So if this person invites me over for dinner and makes their famous spaghetti sauce, and I eat the sauce and say, wow, this is really good, he's going to tell me what's wrong with it. Well, I could have added a little more meat. Or maybe I'll do that next time. Or, I think I should have added a little more salt. I think it's dry. Like, only going to think of what's missing and what's wrong. Their mind never sees the value in the sauce that they made. It only sees the disvalue. What's missing? So this is bad because these scores, look at the average on the self-care up top. Look how far out. So this is very unconventional. Work satisfaction. I'm calling it roll fit here. It couldn't be worse. I can't imagine it being worse than this. It's breaking my scale here. This is any HVP this person takes on the market right now. It won't work. It'll kick this out. It'll say, take it again. You did it wrong. Basically, it's saying nobody hates their work this much in the world. We don't know anybody who hates work this bad, is what the algorithm's going to say, and it will kick it out because it's unmeasurable. But our algorithm measures everything, so we can see exactly how somebody's thinking. This person's basically almost cursing the day they were born. This person says, I hate my work life right now. I hate it with a passion. And I can't think of one good thing. One thing that's good about it. Nothing. I don't know what I do. I do not know why I am on earth. I have no idea what my skill is. I try different things. It never works because I don't know where I have strengths in work when it comes to doing anything. I have zero clue. And anything you tell me about what you think I'm doing that's good, I'm going to find out what's wrong with it. Not what's right. And then when it comes to ambitions, this is basically self-direction. It's future planning. Okay? What are your goals? Where are you trying to go in life? Where are you headed? What are you going to be doing in the next 2 to 5 years? Their brain says, I have no idea. And then if it says, well, you could do this, they immediately think of what's wrong with that idea. You see, because all their biases at the bottom, self-care, role fit, ambition, are all negative. And they're very negative. They're below that red line, which means extremely negative. Double negative. It's called double negative. So they're I2, E2, and S2. Their intrinsic, extrinsic, and systemic scores in the self dimension are all very, very bad. So this person has zero inner direction. None. No compass. Everybody has an inner compass. This one was smashed with a hammer. So I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm here. And when I kind of think about it, I shouldn't be here. What does that tell you? It means that this person could possibly have suicidal tendencies. So very, very, very powerful, not to be taken lightly at all. But yet doing everything in the outside world to remain optimistic. What is this called? It's called acting. So when you meet this person, you would never know the depth of self-sabotage that's going on in this person. You never know the depth of it. You'll never see it. You have no idea. It's why Robin Williams was telling jokes one day, and then the next day he was gone. Same kind of thing. So very, 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 very haunting. I'll be debriefing this person here soon. And we'll go through this to get to the bottom of it. But wow. So anyway, 50 minutes here. I know I did that. I took that call. Sorry. that we had 10 minutes or so of dead space. If you have any questions, you can put it in there in the YouTube thing. I got to get better at that. I'm so inconsistent with it. It's terrible, and I'm sorry about that. I really do want to change that and spend more time doing things like this and taking what I've learned all these years and providing it for everybody to enjoy and learn from. It's really what I want to do. But I'm so freaking busy. It's hard. I'm basically, as you know, sort of a one-man show. And I'm a practitioner. I'm not a business person, so I'm unable to to fix this really. So yeah, my brain's just going all over. So I'm gonna call it quits. I see there's 3 people watching this, so that's cool. Oh, a thumbs up and a heart. So that's great. So hey, we'll see how this goes. I'll try to do more of these. I promise you, I'm trying, even though my efforts seem futile. Bear with me. Well, I'm going to hit the finish button, and we're going to call it a day. Thanks. See you soon.